This is FlashPoint, where power and politics collide, and the tough questions get asked and answered.
Good Sunday morning. Thanks for joining us here on FlashPoint. I'm Ben Thompson. Joining me today, Charlotte City Councilwoman LaWanna Mayfield, and also former Vice Chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party, Wayne King, longtime friend of the program, but it's been years since he's been on. Welcome back, my friend.
Glad to be back.
All right, first up, the public demanding answers from CMPD after the department released more body cam footage from the last month's deadly officer-involved shooting. At first, only 2 minutes of video was released, as you know, but once we found out there was more in the 9 minutes, ABC Charlotte pushed for the rest of the video. So a judge granted our request this week. Officer Wendy Curl called medic just seconds after she shot Danquish Franklin. Medic arrived on the scene less than 4 minutes later. However, what's still unclear at this point from the new video that we got this week, did officers check on Franklin? Did they do first aid? Now, CMPD points out most CMPD officers are not trained emergency medical technicians. Officers must secure the scene first before rendering aid. CPR and defibrillators can only be used when someone is in cardiac arrest. If an individual has a pulse and is breathing, CPR is not appropriate. Since we do have one of the Charlotte City Council members here at the table with us, I want to start with you and get your first reaction to the video, and for two, reaction from CMPD.
So for full disclosure, and I actually shared this with residents in my community at 2 different neighborhood meetings. If it was up to me personally, the additional 9 minutes would not have been released to the community.
Why?
Because if the family requested it, that's a very different conversation than media requesting it. Because as a family member who has lost someone, I don't want to see someone dying as part of a news media blitz. I also don't want the community and others commenting on it, because we need to start working towards healing. I want the family to be able to start working towards healing, opposed to having all these additional comments. As noted, it is not up to me. I would have personal concerns about it, but I recognize that we're in this state and this age where we think general public should have access to all information. What was immediate was the fact of the beginning, what happened in the beginning with the conversation between the victim as well as the law enforcement officer, but to watch someone die on television, that I have a challenge with.
There's a point to be made for sure about not everything is for public consumption. What do you do, though, as a Charlotte leader, about the importance of transparency? Given what the city's gone through for the past several years, what do you do about transparency? Because if you don't show it, then there's going to be more questions.
I still say the responsibility goes to the family first. Now, if the family wants to release it, that is a very different conversation, opposed to media demanding that it's released for consumption. If the family needs it as part of their healing, then I completely respect that and I agree with it. Yes, we need to have transparency. Yes, we need to take ownership that we have language that was not adhered to regarding how you should interact. We have de-escalation language, we have de-escalation training, we have a number of trainings that have been talked about. The concern is in the moment of the incident, were those training tools utilized?
Last question for you about this. Do you think CMPD is being fairly criticized?
Yes, they are being fairly criticized. As a community, we are to criticize. Again, you have language that we have been promoting through community conversations where we say, here are the trainings that have been identified and have been instituted for law enforcement, but what you did not see, whether it was in the 2 minutes or the full 11 minutes, is that training being utilized.
When, to bring you in briefly on this, I know you're not a Charlotte city leader necessarily, but I mean, this is a problem that Charlotte's been grappling with, for years, different incidents. Also, something the country's been grappling when it comes to these. What is the right answer in these situations?
Well, I think the council member's right about the family interacting first and having. No one wants to see their loved one shot on TV and now on national TV. I do agree that the CMPD, though, you've got 1,700 officers in Charlotte, and most of those folks are fine, upstanding people. And you're going to have problems in an agency that size. But I think the council member's right. You do have to use other tactics sometimes and try to figure out how to de-escalate a situation. But the bottom line is, and I've had a personal friend that was shot in the line of duty as a police officer, and you definitely have to make sure that the police officers are safe. You've got to make sure that if there is a time to shoot someone, that has to be done. And it's unfortunate, it's sad, but you know what? The people that put on the badge every day, I respect those people. I respect the officers of CMPD, and I've obviously interacted with those folks a lot of times. And Chief Putney, I think, runs a great agency, so kudos to him. And I think that anytime you have an incident like this, you have to look at exactly what happened, what policies need to be put in place, and I think that Councilmember's right by suggesting that, you look at those.
All right, switching gears now, on Wednesday, just a few days from right now, teachers in the Carolinas will head to their respective capitals to push for change. Among their demands, hiring more support staff, pay increase, expanding Medicaid to improve student health, and restore retiree benefits for teachers. This comes after North Carolina teachers held a rally in Raleigh last year. Wayne, I'll begin with you. I've made this point before on the show, as have others. Republicans like to tout the economy, and no doubt the economy, both locally, statewide, nationwide, is doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Is it wrong for a group of teachers like this, who we know have some of the hardest jobs out there, to be expecting, hey, we want our slice too? If we're going to tout the economy, if we're going to talk about how awesome everything is, where's our fair share?
Well, I think that the legislature certainly is. They're 29th in the country. Teacher pay is in North Carolina, which is above the nation's average, which I think is good. It's the second in the Southeast, which is obviously phenomenal. My son goes to a public school, so I feel like that the public schools are the places to really to be. I do believe in school choice, though. I believe that people need to make their choices about what their families, what's best for their family. But at the end of the day, the teachers are getting paid very well in North Carolina. The Republican legislature has increased the pay. Obviously, could there be more done? Certainly. Is the teacher's job hard? Absolutely. Would I want to do it? Absolutely not, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
So they work very hard, and certainly it's fair. It's fair to always want more. That's certainly fair from any job of people. I'm sure people that's watching our program wish they were getting paid more as well. So certainly fair. But what I don't think is fair is to leave the classroom on May 1st and shut down schools. And there's been several school systems that are shut down.
Optional teacher workday for a lot.
That's the problem.
Councilman, does he make a point in that Democrats like to pile on Republicans when it comes to teacher pay? But, if you at least look at the trajectory over the last few years, I can remember people giving Governor Corey a hard time about this back when I think we were 49th at the time. We're going in the right direction, at least it seems, when it comes to teacher pay.
So I don't believe that this is a Republican or a Democratic issue. This is an issue of a state and a city, specifically when we talk about Charlotte-Mecklenburg, that is seeing increasingly high rates regarding housing, regarding basic needs, regarding gas. We have teachers that are coming out of their own pocket to pay for basic supplies and needs in classrooms.
We also have teachers. Everybody knows a teacher who pays for their.
Exactly, but there's a challenge in that, because teachers are the most important position. Before you become an athlete making millions, before you become an artist, it is that teacher that identified, saw something in you, encouraged, educated, supported your growth, your creativity. And when we have our teachers struggling, or you have teachers out there that can qualify for government assistance, there's a major challenge. Yes, our teachers need to be paid more. They need to have more support in the schools. We need to have more counseling, because we also have to talk about the increased number of bullying that has happened, the increased number of our children that are committing suicide because of bullying. And when you have an overcrowded classroom, you don't have enough counselors that are in the school that are accessible. These are all challenges that continue to strain our public school system. And when you add on top of that choice in charter schools, you're taking my tax dollars, where if I had an option, my tax dollars would go directly to the public school, to now give to charter schools that may or may not be successful, and very well can change the whole trajectory in a negative for a child.
We could devote an entire episode of FlashPoint
Of course.
to school choice for sure. All right, all eyes on Raleigh this week. For that rally, keep it here on NBC Charlotte with the latest coverage. More FlashPoint after this. We were done, right?